Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bells Must Ring podcast. I am your host, Andrew Rice, here with my usual co host, Arnav Sarkar. Lot to talk about, especially after Rutgers' two really heartbreaking losses in a row, but we already covered the Iowa one, so why don't we get on with some more heartbreak with the Minnesota loss? Um, First of all, starting off with the passing offense, Ethan Caligmanis started out really good. They punched twice on their first, no, not the first two drives. They punched twice on the first three drives, missed a kick on, or had a kick blocked on their first drive. But they go up 14 to nothing. Everything looks like, we're just going to, to be honest with you, we got up 14 nothing. We drove down the
Right.
field the first drive and punched two in on the ensuing two drives.
Hmm.
I thought there was a chance we might just cruise through this game, you know.
Yeah.
But in typical Rutgers fashion, they can't do that.
Nope.
No matter what happens, it doesn't matter if they're playing Norfolk State. It doesn't matter if they're playing Minnesota. They can't just cruise through anything.
Never, 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 never.
um, Caligmanis started off good. As I mentioned, the two touchdown drives. He had some really impressive throws that were just on a line dimes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, Several times I saw, like on Twitter or whatnot, I just saw like a highlight, and the caption was, "This is an NFL type throw,"
Yeah. Both
and
the
they were.
throws to like Sheffield and KJ Duff were on a rope. I mean, they were in tight coverage, and he zipped it in there. Even the first drive, Rutgers got down the field, but they had to kick a field goal. Well, and then we'll get to that later. But it ended up getting blocked. The second and third drives, like you mentioned, they scored two touchdowns. Yeah, like throws on a rope. I mean, they were just dotting them up, and it looked really good. And then all of a sudden, like momentum shifts in Minnesota's favor. And then towards the end of the game, kind of a flip. I mean, Caligmanis kind of had the worst ending of the season so far. I mean, he wasn't so horrible, but I believe he was like 11 for 21, like in completions. He also threw a few footballs in harm's way. There was a few plays where Minnesota's D-backs, and also to their credit, but he threw them in harm's way. They weren't able to make the interception, but they were able to get like a deflection. I felt like their secondary played really well.
There was some where they were right there, like you feel like
They just
the
dropped them.
ball
They
just made a
dropped a
different
couple.
way.
And then one of them was, well, Minnesota ended up scoring a touchdown on a long drive of their own. But then on the one after that, Calgmanis threw what was nearly a pick six. It set up the Gophers right at the 8 yard line, and then Lindsey ended up just firing a pass to Lamike Brockington, who I took note of during the film series as one of the big guys to watch out for, and he definitely did not disappoint. So on the first touchdown, which was the famed Ojibwe run, Minnesota's down their two top running backs, but they largely, we'll get to this later too, but they largely shut down the run game. But the pass defense was, I mean, pretty atrocious because Jalen Smith just had a big
Ooh,
bomb pass from Lindsey over the middle of the field, and Minnesota walked it in. But then Brockington, after the Menace near pick six, which he returned to the 8 yard line, ended up finding Brockington the end zone. So I mean, it was kind of a mixed game from the Rutgers offense. Like, it was good in some ways, bad in others. The offensive line allowed 7 sacks, which is just, like not great. Part of that was
well, I want to address that pick six, that near pick six touchdown, real quick. I find it very hard to difficult the defense on a drive where they're defending an 8 yard field.
yeah, that's not really
Calicman should have never thrown that ball, and this goes into the sack thing as well. So don't think I'm just completely neglecting that. Throw the ball away. Throw the ball away.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
been saying that all season. Throw the ball away.
I
Get
know,
rid of the ball.
right? I mean, that's like the one thing that I felt like Caligmanis wasn't doing so well against even, the first three opponents. Ohio, Miami, Ohio, Norfolk, Iowa. That happened a lot too. But 7 sacks is just not good enough. And part of Phil's offensive line, there's been some injuries. I don't know. The assignments were, sometimes the blocking wasn't the best. I mean, Minnesota has a lot of really, really good pass rushers. I think Anthony Smith was one of them. He had like 1.5 sacks, but I mean, yeah, you're right. Kaufman has held onto the ball too long. So many times when he could have just thrown it away, and also like when he just starts to try to rush, it just doesn't work because he's very like slow. Like, I mean, that's just not like a recipe for success for him to even be able to scamper up the middle. Like, he's not only is he not mobile, but he's not really even like semi-mobile, or he could kind of get away with it. Like, I mean, he can move, but like it's just not. He'll get chased down every time, but sometimes he'll just stand in the pocket and not even attempt that, and then get sacked, and that's just like a bit too much. And those could have probably been avoided. So I mean, some of them were like really big, like got him sacked. Some of them were kind of just him standing in the pocket, holding the ball for too long. And yeah, once that happens, I mean, the offense is going to stall. I mean, sacks put you behind the chains and, create longer down and distance situations, more passing downs, which can result in another sack. I think that happened where there was a back-to-back one. So back-to-back sacks for Minnesota or something like that. So, I mean, just not the best performance there by on the offensive side. It was a mixed bag, though. They did score 28 again, which is how many they scored against Iowa. They allowed 31. One thing about the offense, though, I mean, the run game. I mean, Antoine Raymond had career performance. He looked kind of like Monangai out there. He had
He looks like a
161 yards.
beast. He looks like he's
Yeah,
going to be a beast.
breaking tackles. I mean, doing just about every pass blocking, picking up blocks in the pass game, but on the ground, I mean, 161 yards on just 26 carries, and that's a volume carries, but it's also a big number. 2 touchdowns. I mean, the pass game has gotten all the attention the first 4 games, and rightfully so. I mean, the way that they've been finding their receivers, and Sheffield, Strong, and Duff. But this time, I mean, the pass game was decent, like we mentioned. Wasn't bad by any means, but Antoine Raymond really stole the show, and he had like an absolute monster performance on the ground. So I mean, yeah, I mean, shout out to him. I mean, he looks like he's like the next back in the line of Rutgers running backs. I mean, behind like after Pacheco, Monangai, in that same mold of won't go down, physical, tough runner. And with the running back room, kind of in jeopardy a little bit with Campbell being injured. I mean, we don't know. Like Sam Brown came back too, which is another thing to note. He had 5 carries for 12 yards after missing a lot of last season, missing I think all the first 4 games of this season. So he's back in the lineup. It's going to be interesting how they divvy up the carries, because this time Deshaun Benjamin didn't get in. I thought he was going to kind of be the number 2. He still might be. In this case, there wasn't really a need for a number 2 because Antoine Raymond was so great. But, I mean, it's going to be interesting how they divide up the carries between Sam Brown and Deshaun Benjamin for that, on that second spot, basically, because I think both of them should be in the rotation for that.
I think people are overshadowing the contribution that Deshaun Benjamin has been having. I feel like because he's the number 2 back, he's not getting quite the headlines, but he's had some solid games, and you really can't take that away from him.
Right.
Sam Brown is done after this year. Antoine Raymond and Deshaun Benjamin are going to be the guys going forward, and
Yeah.
I don't think that you can overshadow the contributions that Benjamin has had so far, because he's talked about all the time by the coaches.
Yeah.
He's had a solid 4 games to start the season. I think maybe they wanted to throw something at Minnesota that they perhaps weren't looking for with Sam Brown, but I would be very surprised if this continues. Just going to
Yeah,
be
maybe. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think part of it was I think part of it was him coming back from injury. They're like, let's see what he's got this year, things like that. There's probably some excitement around him. Like he was a 4-star recruit at a high school. He's been like sporadic for Rutgers. He's been injured a lot for years. So he's kind of like he's had that talent, but like he hasn't really had the opportunities. So like maybe they just wanted to throw him in the lineup, see what he can do. And with Antoine Raymond having such a monster performance, there probably just wasn't enough carries to really start splitting it up like that. Because I mean, you already have a guy who's has 26 carries, and you have Sam Brown having like another I think 5 carries or something like that. So they probably just wanted to see what exactly was going on, on that thought process. But in the future, I mean, Deshaun Benjamin, I think, should absolutely be, in the rotation for the Scarlet Knights. I mean, he's been proving himself since freshman year since he came onto the scene against Northwestern. I mean, and he's last year he redshirted, but he's never been a disappointment. The coaching staff is incredibly high on him, and I mean I could see why, and especially with Raymond and him being the next year's guys. I think they're going to split it. I would love to see Sam Brown make some sort of an impact. I remember he had a huge game against Indiana a couple years ago before
Yeah,
he
I
got
remember
injured,
that
like
one.
over 100 yards, and that was a home. I think that was like their only Big Ten win that year. But I mean, that was a good performance
Anton
by him,
Raymond. I mean, sorry. My
Sam
God,
Brown.
Sam Brown legacy game right there.
Yeah,
Those who
right.
know who know.
Yeah. So it's just he's also been like oft injured, so it's just been very hard for them to have faith in him. And but he's back this year, so I mean, I think he could certainly at least probably be a good number two, and or Benjamin. I mean, they're probably gonna end up rotating. Like I said, I'm interested because I don't know how they're gonna exactly divide those two, but I think they can. And running backs, you want to rotate guys in and out. It's one of those positions. It's like D line. You know what I mean? You want to rotate your best players in and out. It's not like you have three receivers starting the whole time or four secondary, five secondary starting the entire time. You want to have rotation. You want to get those fresh legs. You want to mix it up because those are some of the more physical positions on the field. So, yeah, I mean, that's the run game looked good. I mean, shout out like Antoine Raymond, obviously a huge game. Pass game a little mixed. On the defensive side of the ball for Rutgers, though, I
Wait,
mean,
before we go anywhere with the offense, right? I mean, I really want to praise the offense as much as the next guy, but I can't. I'm struggling to. First of all, the pick, then your pick
and
six.
yeah,
That's essentially spotting Minnesota 7 points right there, and they know that.
yeah,
They
yeah,
essentially spotted Minnesota 7 points. But the one thing that I really can't get over is the coming thundering out of the gate with the 14 points
right,
and another touchdown before halftime. We're up. We got 21 points. We're feeling good, and then after halftime, can't do any.
yeah.
Can't move the
Again,
ball.
it's
Can't,
like second straight game.
I want to be one of those guys that does nothing but sing the praises of the offense but point to the defense as the weak spot, but I can't because we can't have that thundering out of the gate and then go silent for the rest of the game. We need punch after punch after punch after punch on offense, and they know that's what we need because
Yeah,
the defense is what it is. So
right.
we really need to have that consistency on offense for the whole game. And that's something that Shiano touched upon in his press conference, that consistency. You know, you need to have consistency in execution. You need to
Yeah.
have they're having plays, but they need to have the consistency. I would like, if they score 21 points in the first half, score at least 14 in the second half.
Right. We're not saying, they have to score another 21 points necessarily, but like it would be nice. But I mean,
Even 10 points.
yeah, I mean, it's just they go cold. Like, I mean, like in the second, it's the same thing that happened against Iowa too. Like they started off red hot, drive for drive, drive for drive. And I mean, I guess Iowa also did it a little bit, but like, they kept going. They
But
got
you
stops.
expect that out of Iowa's offense.
Right,
You still have
exactly.
like,
Yeah, I mean, that's again, that's credit to. I mean, I guess their improvements and also credit to our defense, but that's a different story. But I mean, our offense also wasn't able to match. And this is like really the third game that this happened. Ohio too. I mean, they came out thundering. They went up with 31-14, and then they barely escaped on a field goal from Jay Patel. Well, Ohio put together drives and made adjustments and. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of ways, Rutgers got lucky, like to win that game. Although they did a lot of things right, and in Big Ten play, like it got that much worse because you know what I mean? Like those teams aren't a good MAC team; they're like good Big Ten teams. So I mean, you know what I mean? There's a difference. So they were able to also make adjustments, but they're also able to even do better and basically shut down that Rutgers offense at the end with their own ferocious defenses, which I guess Ohio like just honestly didn't really have, but. But I mean, again, like the third straight game where Rutgers, or not third straight, because in Miami, Ohio, and Norfolk, their offense was able to take off, but that's like lesser competition. In the three games against like equal to better competition, or even slightly less, like in the case of Ohio, like I mean, Rutgers slowed down. They did not make the right halftime adjustments while the other team did, and like their offense just stalled out. And I think even worse is that the offense has failed to deliver in a clutch moment. Like other than I
Oh
guess
yes,
Ohio,
yes.
they really have not been clutch. I mean, Ohio, they needed a stop. They got one. They held onto the ball the rest of the game and they won. In a way, that's clutch. They got the fourth down. But in the Big Ten games, they have not been clutch. They've been anything but. I mean, when Rutgers, they made a mistake. Well, I mean, they couldn't get the ball because of a boneheaded penalty on the defense, and then Iowa ends up scoring, but Rutgers has a chance, and then Kalkmanis throws his interception, and then
Against
Iowa.
Iowa, just to be clear, that's against Iowa.
Yeah, that one's against that one's against Iowa, yes, but right. So yeah, like I said, Ohio they were able to pull one out, keep the offense on the field against Iowa. They were unable to even given a chance, even after Iowa goes and scores a touchdown. As disappointing as it was, Rutgers still had a chance, and Kalakmanis throws an interception. Part of that's because of the O line, part of it's because of Iowa's pressure, part of it was just a bad throw, like a lot of different things. But that just didn't work out so well. And then I guess Rutgers was just kind of out of time or whatever. Then in Minnesota, it was even worse. I mean, like the way the offense just got cold. Kalakmanis putting the ball in harm's way multiple times, getting picked, and then there's the debacle of what happened on the last drive where they ended up
Oh,
in field goal range. I mean, we have to talk about that, like, because that is
we're
much
gonna
more.
save that for the end of the segment. We're gonna roll into the defense
Okay,
first
yeah,
because I'm
all
like
right, fair enough.
that's gonna be an entire segment by itself.
Okay,
Um,
okay. So the defense now, oh boy, I mean, the defense has actually been interesting though, because in this game they did shut down the run game for the first time all season. And granted, that run game was down two of Minnesota's top running backs. So take that how you will. They're down Darius Taylor and they were down their backup running back who I forgot what his name was, but who came in the Cal game and was not able to go for this one. Not a G boy, the other guy, Cam Davis was the
yeah,
other guy, but a G boy was pretty good in the Cal game. He had 16 carries for 85 yards. Five above 5.3 average per carry. Not great, not bad, pretty good. But in this game, I mean, this game, Minnesota's run game really did get shut down by the defense. I mean, Ajibwe had 12 carries, 37 yards, 3.1 average yards per carry. Oh, Cam Davis was back in this game, but one of their other backs was injured. But Davis had 3 carries for 8 yards. So, like, really, the run game didn't get going, like, hardly at all. So, in the Rutgers defense, they got 2 3-and-outs on the two opening drives. They stopped Minnesota on fourth down, 4th and inches, in which they ended up taking advantage of. They go down the field and they get a touchdown before halftime. And then meanwhile, Antoine Raymond has like a legacy drive of his own in that 161 yards that I guess we hadn't mentioned. But to their credit, the Rutgers defense did make improvements there. But in the past game, like, oh my goodness, like, I mean, like I mentioned about Jalen Smith's deep pass. I mean, that stuff's been going on all season. But what's even worse to me is like all the big plays and intermediate plays all over the field. I mean, if you look at these receptions, I mean, there's most like their tight ends are finding spots all over the middle of the field. Drew, Bieber, Jamison Gears, who's I think supposed to be pretty good. The receivers are having like completions in the middle of the field or at the side. Even their running backs, I mean, I think almost all of them have like a completion over 10 yards, and that's the biggest problem. Like Rutgers is giving up plays in space. They're giving up like soft coverages where you can just get a first down just because you get there and then give up another 5 yards after the catch. And I'm just like how is that even possible? Like if they get the first down, it's bad enough. And then you give them empty space to run after that. And I just don't understand. Like, I mean, there's something wrong with the scheme. Like, I mean, it's just not good enough. So, I mean, like, and on top of that, I mean, 2 sacks that Rutgers got, no takeaways, limited pressures. One thing that Minnesota did really well is they ran an up-tempo offense, and Lindsey was just, if you saw, like he was just, when they made a big play, he was directing traffic. He's saying, "Let's go, let's go,
like
let's
get
go."
down, get down, get down. Yes.
Yeah, like I loved the way he was doing that as a freshman quarterback or redshirt freshman, the way he had the command of that offense. But what it was also doing, it was keeping Rutgers on their heels. They weren't able to, get back in time. I mean, they were, but they weren't able
Well,
to.
not even just that, but if you remember the channel talking about Rutgers' defensive line in the beginning of the season, the biggest thing would be their ability to rotate their
Their D line.
their D line.
Yeah.
If you just take away the rotation, then
Yeah, you can't really rotate that in that quickly. Although, I mean, I think you can because like you're supposed to be able to match substitutions, and Illinois
Yeah, but what
like
if
took
they don't
advantage.
substitute?
Well,
You
that's
know,
true. I don't think they did. I think they just ran everyone because they were saying, "Let's go,
I
let's
didn't
go,
see
let's
it.
go."
I didn't see a
Yeah, I
substitution.
didn't see one either. So then Rutgers, I guess you can't do that, and plus they're gonna snap the ball so quickly. And yeah, I mean, again, so like it's up tempo offense. You take a deep shot, you connect on one, then you go intermediate. You find the soft spots on the field. I don't know how there's so many of them. Like it just doesn't make sense. But like it's just there's so like it's just like so many times. Like if you look at the box score, almost all the receivers, tight ends, and even pass catching running backs will have a completion over 10 yards. The receivers will have deeper ones than that. I mean, and then Jalen Smith obviously had the big long one. So I mean, like that's a whole
Another
different
problem
story.
that has just nothing but plagued us all game, especially if you think back to the Miami of Ohio game where they hit those two. They essentially
Deep
hit two
shots, yeah.
home run balls, and then
Run
that was it.
balls. Yeah, and that's an offense in Miami, Ohio, who's very, very conservative, and even they, took advantage of this Knights defense, and they just Daquan Finn went all out, and he showed the arm, and yeah, I mean Navarro like found all the soft spots in the field, in addition to running Navarro, and then Finn, found like the deep balls, and then it's just like it's just not good enough. Like it's just. At least the run defense has looked improved, I guess, but maybe that's just also because they didn't really play like the top two running backs. But still, I mean, that's a good way to make a statement. The pass defense now has just become so horrible where like I mean you just can't even trust them, like not even like at all. So it's just like
It feels like if they key in on one thing, the other defense just becomes abhorrent. They
yeah.
key in on the run, their pass defense just becomes abysmal. They key in on the pass, the run defense become abysmal.
Yeah.
There's no winning here. It's just there's no winning here.
There's no winning here. Yeah. It's kind of
They
like
take away one, and the other one becomes a gaping
right? 'Cause
hole.
if you try to shut, yeah, exactly, the run defense, and then they finally key that one up, and then it's kind of like I guess like I like to equate or like make the comparison of like kind of like what happened with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs went in all in on Saquon Barkley, and they stacked the box, they stopped him. They didn't really stop him completely, but they basically made him a non-factor. At least on the run game, he had like 55 rushing yards and 40 receiving yards, like along those lines. But the problem was the pass game was just like doing whatever they wanted against Kansas City. I mean, so you want to bet on Jalen Hurts. I guess you have to do that at your own risk, unfortunately now. But I mean, in this case, like, yeah, in this case, same thing though. Rutgers cannot stop the pass, or the pass defense has just gotten worse. But it's like, yeah, if they want to key in on one, the other one struggles mightily. And if they try to key in on the pass, and they drop everyone back, and the running backs are gonna. It's like they just can't do both at the same time, and a lot of times they can't even do either. So like this is the first time that they've even done one right. I would say like all season in a big way, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, the defense, like, I feel like you do have to give them some credit for what they have done this week. There was a lot of good. There was the two stops in the beginning of the game. There was a fourth down stop. I mean, things like that were good. But then when the defense was bad,
Keyshawn Griffin had a good day too. You got to point that out. We're talking
yeah,
about the defensive line struggles. At least Griffin had a good day. He had that one stop in the backfield where he just like let the running back go, and I'm like, "What? Make the tackle! Like
right.
make the tackle
Yeah,
behind
he
the
had
line of scrimmage."
what, one TFL yeah, one TFL. He had
Well,
one.
he had a
Oh, that
TFL,
was a
but
big one. Yeah.
you remember the one where you had the guy like pretty much wrapped up and couldn't make the tackle?
Yeah, that's like a Rutgers. That's another big problem. Like the tackling is really, really poor. Like they don't wrap guys up, they don't finish. I mean, well, looking at some of the high performers here, I mean, I guess yeah, secondary linebackers, I mean, they're leading the teams in tackles, which is good. I mean, Jabome and Elad, had the most tackles, which I guess is expected. They both had a TFL. Cam Miller had a pass deflection and a TFL. He had 4 tackles. Bo Masco had 4 tackles. Abram Wright had 4 tackles in his first start. Bradley Weaver had a big game. He had 3 tackles, 2 of which were sacks, and TFLs, all the same thing, but basically he had 2 sacks. So that was his kind of coming out party. One of them was a pretty big one too, that put Minnesota behind the chains, and basically ended up giving Rutgers the ball back. So that was a big one. And then we mentioned Keshawn Griffin. Yeah, so I mean, again, like, and it's inconsistent, but it's kind of there though. But I mean, like, even Jabome, there's been penalties on him. The penalties continue to come at like the worst possible time for Rutgers. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like really, it's a little bit unfortunate, but
Not even
yeah,
what's
I don't
timing
know.
about the penalties. Just don't commit them.
Yeah, just don't
Easier
commit
said
them,
than
and
done, but you know,
right, or
I'm
at
talking
least
about
don't
the
commit.
timing of the penalties. Just don't have them.
Don't commit them at the worst times. Like Greg Schiano, like will say that there's you don't want to never be penalized because that means you aren't playing like physical this and that. But they're committing all the ones like away from the play, like procedural penalties, like things that like really hurt you, as opposed to just like a judgment call, like being a little too rough. Like although I'm sure there's been some of that too, but like you know what I mean. Like it's just like they're committing like all the wrong penalties in the worst possible moments, and that's just like that's just not like unnecessary hits out of bounds, holding when you're not even like impacting the play. That's like that just blows my blood. I mean, things like that, like it's just like ridiculous. Like, and things that give the other team the ball back, allow them to move up when give them like life, like all those things that you can't afford. And then on the offense, I mean, that's a whole penalties on that. False starts when there doesn't need to be, like things like that. Like it's just but yeah, I mean, it's just so unfortunate. But then we get on to they did struggle with the up tempo. I think that was a thing to note. But
Yeah,
I mean,
we mentioned that definitely, because especially when we talked about the substitutions. But let's go ahead and start talking about the special teams.
yeah, I was about to get
Third
to
game in a row where we've had a kick blocked, and in all honesty, I'm ready to call it on Jay Patel. Like, I'm sorry, 3 games in a row, you have a kick blocked. 3 times your kick is way too low. You know,
right.
I'm sorry, I'm ready to.
I don't know.
If
It's
he
just
if
like
he needs to like
yeah,
sit on the bench and readjust a little bit, that's fine
right.
by me. But I'm ready to.
Maybe just bring Pizarro in for a little bit, like
Yeah.
get things straightened out. I don't know. I mean, well, I listened to the press conference, and I read your article on that, and I saw the quotes from like the Targum, like all the other articles I was reading from Shiano, and like he talked about that whole situation. Like he said, Patel, the first kick wasn't good. He worked on it during the game, this and that, but
Well,
like I
yes,
don't
but
know.
that's also what Shiano's going to say. But the
Well, yeah,
problem is, and the problem has remained, that for the past 3 games, he's had a kick blocked. And
yeah,
the
yeah.
Iowa game, maybe they got away with a little bit of leverage there, but that doesn't take away that from the Norfolk State game that he had 2 blocked
Two
in
kicks
that game.
blocked, and I don't even. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know how much of it has to do with the line getting leaned on, because in the Iowa game that would definitely played a factor. The other two, I don't. I think he just also kicked it very low. So
That's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying. That's why I'm like, first of all, you should have at most 1 or 2 kick blocked a
like all
season.
year, yeah.
You
You can't
know,
have one every game, two in one game, and one. It's just like it's just not acceptable.
I'll
Like I don't. Yeah.
I'll even give him I'll give him the one against Iowa. I'm just gonna pretend like that one didn't happen. He
Right.
has 3 already, right? And the fact of it is, you should have at most 2 in the entire
In
season.
the entire year.
You know,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry. I'm ready to give the sophomore a shot. You know,
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because Jay Patel was like, he set a record for accuracy. He had like, a good season last for whatever sophomore. I don't even know. Like his first year, like I think freshman year when he came on, or his first year, I think he was behind McAtamney, and then he took over. I think he's a redshirt junior, which is why my timing is are like a little bit off. But like I mean, redshirt freshman year, I guess whatever. So like he comes on the scene. He does really well. His second year, I mean, special teams did not do him any favors. They sent him out at all the wrong times. They didn't, they were aggressive when they shouldn't have been. Then they sent him out cold, and I was no fan of any of that. And whatever. So he struggles, but he still like overall does pretty decent. And then this year, like the kicks are getting blocked, and like he's starting to miss them. They're getting blocked. I just it's just like you have to like I don't know. I mean, part of it's protection, but a lot of it's he's just kicking it so low where it's like more prone to getting blocked, and like you see the other kickers and how high they kick, and it's like a night and day difference, and like
well,
that's what you
because his kicks are going like shooting on a line, when in reality, you want your kicks to get up. You
Right.
know,
Like we watched Iowa's kicker Stevens. Like the kicks are going so high, like you didn't even know if they were in or not because they were going above where the and that's another extreme. But like I'm like, like we can't have the kicks barely. That's why Jay Patel also doesn't have like the range for like a 56 yarder. Like, even though he's pretty accurate, like, maybe that's a shortcoming, but it's because these kicks are so low. Like, how are they gonna have that kind of range? So, you know what I mean? Like, but anyway, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to give up on Patel, but we definitely need to see adjustments. And then
I
another,
think I think maybe give him a couple games. Let it get past him.
yeah,
Bring
we have a bye week reset.
bring Dane in, see what he can do.
Right. Almost like a kicking competition, like something like that. Like the way the Giants, they brought in McAtamney and they had Young Aku and this and that. Like, you know what I mean? Like they did what they needed to because they also had an important kicking situation with Gano getting injured. That's a whole different story. But anyway, I mean, they did what they had to do. And former Rutgers kicker McAtamney kicking for the Giants. The Giants beat the Colts. Oh, not the Colts. That's your
No,
team.
no, 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 no.
Sorry. The
You did
Chargers.
not
I don't
beat
know
the
why.
Colts.
Why
Come
did I
on
say the
now.
Colts? I don't know. I was thinking like
Chargers.
the C team,
Chargers.
like the Chargers, the 3-0 Chargers, 3-1 Chargers, 1-3 Giants. Former Rutgers kicker,
You're not beating Indiana Jones.
probably not. Unfortunately, they're not going to beat Danny Dimes and Indy. But anyway, I mean, former Rutgers kicker Jude McAtamney over there, who actually was in front of Patel, and then Patel actually took his spot, and McAtamney handled kickoffs, and Jude still ended up in the NFL. So who knows what happens, with Patel? But right now, it's not looking too great. But I mean, in terms of special teams, another thing. Like that, I just feel like they keep making the same mistakes because they almost, again, for the second straight game, nearly allowed another return touchdown on a
Yep.
kickoff right before the half. That happened against Iowa too, where they
It
ran out
almost
of
happened
time.
twice against Iowa, if you remember
Yeah, the
correctly.
opening one, Caden Weechen goes almost untouched, and then later on the game they get pretty close, but I mean, they get tackled and there's no time left, so Rutgers gets bailed out. In this game, Parrish, there was like 12 seconds or something. He takes off. Rutgers tracks him down. Minnesota is basically in field goal range with like I don't think they even had a timeout, so they couldn't do anything else. But they basically had a free shot at a field goal, down by 7 right before the half. And
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, Brady Denenberg, their kicker, missed it wide right because it was also a pretty long attempt, 50 yards. But I
And
mean,
I hope the fact that they're not getting like bailed out by these, missed kicks and by running out of time. I hope that's not overshadowing the issue of
yeah,
what's
exactly.
happening
Because I
with
feel
us.
like for too many people, it probably is. Like I was hard on that. Like I was like, I'm frustrated. Some people might say, oh, it's whatever. Like who cares? Like they got away with it. But I mean, the thing is, if you keep doing that, you're not going to keep getting away
You're
with
gonna
it.
get burned eventually.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to make a field goal. Somebody's going to return it for a touchdown, right before the half, and you're going to be, a 7-point lead is going to turn into a tie game before Washington, or whoever sees the ball to start the second half. And I mean, that's the last thing you want. So you don't want to give up free points. I mean, Rutgers is going to be in no position to do that, going forward for most of the rest of the season. And if they just allow easy points, when the rest of their team isn't even playing that good to begin with, then it's going to be very difficult. If anyone can score a last minute touchdown or set up an easy field goal, and then they get the ball back to start the second half, and they go and score another, you know what I mean? Like things like that,
Mm-hmm.
it can absolutely happen. If they score a touchdown, they tie it, or even a field goal, and then they get the ball back and they score again. That could be the game right there. That could be
Yeah.
like a big, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That could be the game right there. So, but yeah, I mean, anyway, so hopefully they do learn from this. Hopefully them getting bailed out isn't, I know for
Just
Rutgers
fix
and the way.
something. Like, in all honesty, they've been making so many mistakes and so many new ones. Just fix
Fix
something.
the ones,
Get
yeah, fix
something fixed.
something. And
You know.
yeah, I mean, and please don't make new ones going in after that. But like, I mean,
I like the please don't make new
and
ones.
fix the ones that you have because like I said, this isn't they're not going to keep getting bailed out. But the good part about Rutgers and the coaching staff is they're a team who takes, well, at least that's what I thought. Like they're a team that takes this stuff seriously. Like Greg Schiano isn't the coach who's going to just let that roll by. He's going to say, no, we have to fix this. And but I don't know. Like after seeing it a couple weeks in a row, like now I'm like doubting that a little bit too. So hopefully they reset in the bye week. But none of these mistakes compared to the worst one of them all,
Oh
where
yeah, so I've been trying to push this one off as long as possible, but I feel like I want to take this
it's
one head
fine. Go
on.
for it.
Rutgers is driving right down the field. It's a really good drive. They're down by 3. Calicmanis is pushing forward. We look like we're about to take the lead. Lines up on, I believe, 2nd and 10, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Something
Um,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, 2nd and 10, if I'm not mistaken. The ball goes flying
Yeah,
through
it was second and
Calicmanis'
10. It was
legs.
second down. Yeah.
Yeah. The ball goes flying through Calicmanis' legs when they're on I believe, the Minnesota 26-yard line,
They were well within field goal range, and like,
well within field goal range.
and the ball goes right through his like. Again, like, there's multiple things going on here. Like, number one, the noise. Number
Well,
two, the
no, and
communication.
I want to touch on that noise because even Shiano mentioned that it was a possible factor in why that snap happened.
Right.
What's going to happen when we go to Washington? What's going to
Yeah.
happen when we go
That's
to
Husky
Ohio State?
Stadium.
Are we
Yeah.
just not going to be able to snap the ball? Like, come on. You want to
I
talk
mean,
about
yeah.
Minnesota's not exactly known for its raucous crowd. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
Like, they were getting loud, and I can hear them, from how I was watching. But
Yeah.
are we gonna Are we gonna go to Ohio State and not be able to snap the ball?
I know. Like, but
I
I'm just like,
understand noise as an excuse, but come on.
yeah, it's just like unfortunate. But like, you have to have like silent counts, or you have to have something. But it was like, weird because Ethan, I don't know if Ethan wasn't ready. Like, Zelensky snapped it low, but I don't think Ethan was ready for it either.
Wasn't
So it's
even
like,
looking for it.
he wasn't looking. He kind of like clapped, but he wasn't like really like, ready for it, I guess, or something. Like, I don't know how that exactly happens either, but like, he wasn't looking for it, so I don't think he was fully ready. Maybe he was trying to make a last second adjustment, but he ends up clapping, and the ball goes low and between his legs. So the snap is also poor. Ethan wasn't looking, and then the ball ends up going like 15 yards behind, and fortunately recovered by the Knights, but unfortunately, out of Patel's range. And on the next play, they're down in a mile. Like, they try a check down to just pick up yardage, and they
But
get
like,
eight.
and here's another thing, right? You have three certified beasts, right? I have the wide receiver core.
Yeah, take a
And
shot, or
no,
like
not
at least get them back. Maybe not like a touchdown shot, but like get them into like range. Like, draw up like a 10 to
like why
15
don't
yard
like why were we not
concept, and
shooting for field goal range? Like, why were we
right,
shooting for a check down and hoping somebody makes a play? In reality, what they should have done, in my opinion, is throw a mid-range route to either DT or
Sheffield
Ian, or
or
not sorry,
Ian or
KJ
Josh.
or Ian, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I mean, you have receivers for like big play receivers for that. Exactly, like a 10-15 yard, concept over the middle, something like a crosser, like something down the sideline, like something that would get you into that field goal range, like for Patel, like instead of having to rely on, bringing up Pizarro now, who's never kicked like a field goal for, well, he did. Well, he kicked 2 extra points against Norfolk State, but like, he's never kicked a field goal for Rutgers. Coming out from that distance, you can't put Patel in there because his range is not long enough. So now you have a fresh kicker coming in for that. Like, needless to say, this loss is absolutely not on Pizarro, because that's just like a ridiculous situation to be
and
thrown
he's
in.
never kicked before, and you ask
Yeah,
him to
it's not
come
like he's a
in.
veteran who's known for making them and then he missed it. Then maybe it'd be a little different. But like, I mean, you're asking a lot from a sophomore kicker who's never kicked before when your offense didn't do the job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot to say about everything that went wrong with football.
Yeah.
Shiano said that, like, oh, they wanted to bring in their stronger like kicker, but it's also, he's a sophomore who hasn't kicked at this level before. I mean,
Right. But
why
yeah,
are we why do we first of all, why did it even happen? You know, I'm
well,
sorry.
that's the main
I
thing. Yeah.
cannot blame the noise here. I cannot, because what's gonna happen, when we go to Ohio State? Are we just not gonna be able to get a snap off? Like
Right. The
noise,
noise
noise,
is gonna be
noise.
15 times louder, like, over there. So I mean,
But Minnesota's not known for its raucous
yeah,
crowd.
exactly. I
It's
mean,
not like
maybe yeah, it's not like one of the bigger, like Husky Stadium. People are talking about that in Ohio State, flooded the stadium with red, but we're not going to be doing that, I'm pretty sure. So, like, you know what I mean?
not even just that. You got to think, like, Minnesota's not even like one of those smaller stadiums that gets known for being raucous.
Yeah,
It's not like Virginia Tech, where it's like, not
right,
such a successful program, but they still have a great atmosphere. Their
right.
atmosphere is comparable to ours.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, can get loud, but usually not really known for it. So,
Yeah,
type.
exactly. It's not like we were playing in the whiteout, which, if we ever have to play in the whiteout, oh boy, are we going to be able to get the snap off? Yeah,
Shout out
none,
Ducks, by the way. But yeah,
nothing
frustrating.
frustrating than them blaming crowd noise when
Crowd noise,
there's
Minnesota.
hardly any crowd noise that you shouldn't expect. And second of all, you have to be prepared for that, and that's
Yeah,
the
and
end of it.
channels even saying like they practice for these things. They put music up loud on the speakers. Like, I don't know, like, again, like, it's just, like, I don't know. It's just, again, like, it's unfortunate. It was game breaking,
Someone
but I
made a
mean,
mistake somewhere, and it might have been Calic Manis with those claps, but
it might
not
have.
to.
I think it might have been, but also the snap was low. It might have been more in Caglic Manis for calling for it and not being aware, calling for it and not being aware of it. Either way, it was just a disastrous sequence. But I mean, as much as like I like to say like mistakes are fine and fix them, but like this one kind of wasn't. And second of all, I don't have faith in that they will fix it. Like, 'cause that's not what we've seen so far this season. So hopefully I'm wrong about that and this doesn't happen again. But it would not surprise me to see this happen again in Washington. I really wouldn't. And that's, I think, what the most frustrating part about all of this is.
Absolutely. Not to keep beating a dead horse into the ground, but we do have some other topics that we did want to reach beyond the world of football. I mean, I feel like we've covered everything that we could about the Rutgers game against Minnesota.
Right.
Begging for some improvements in the bye week.
Yeah.
Washington is going to be Washington scares me. I mean,
Yeah. They
you
don't
know,
look at 24-6 against Ohio State and make any type of conclusions as to how that's going to go with the Rutgers
because that's
game.
Ohio State, and they've suffocated much tougher opponents than
Much tougher opponents. Texas was held to 7. I mean, Ohio had 9 points, and that's a season high as to what's been allowed against them. And prolific offenses like Washington are getting shut down because nobody can figure out how to get into the end zone against them, except for like Ohio did like one time, Texas did one time, but you know what I mean? Like, nobody can figure it out from the red zone as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I remember at least, which is definitely a problem for just about anyone, including probably the elite teams too, who are probably going to struggle to score. But I mean, in terms of middle of the pack to worse, like Washington struggled, but they kept Ohio State relatively in check. On their defense had a lot of question marks. They're like, oh, they might not be that great. They allowed 24 to Washington State. They allowed 21 to Colorado State, and they held they look pretty good. They held Ohio State to 24. Their offense still was able to move the ball down the field on occasions and, try to threaten them and keep themselves in the game, but they weren't able to obviously, put a bow on it. So, but I mean, against Rutgers, that's a whole different story. When you look at our defense, like, they have playmakers. Damon Williams, extremely accurate quarterback.
Jonah
Jonah Coleman.
Jonah
Oh,
Coleman terrifies me for what he
he's
might
like a
do.
absolute beast at running back. And we saw it last year when they came here, and the way he was, it was a running back duel between him and Mananga. He's a physical runner. He's got speed, athleticism, and then to top it all off, Denzel Boston, the wide receiver. I mean, he's also like a big play guy that can connect with Williams. And the way our defense is with the coverage is like that's a team that could take advantage. Washington, like everyone else has. I mean, this it's going to be an interesting bye week for Rutgers. I mean, Washington goes to Maryland in a game that only looks appealing, just because well, first of all, it's a good, it's like fun to watch. Second of all, we play both of these teams, so we'll get a better read on, because so far they both kind of played teams that are worse than them, and then Ohio, and then Washington's played OSU, who's like way better. But we have to see what they look like against like similar competition for a better gauge. And this weekend definitely provides that. Maryland's looked pretty good too. I mean, Malik Washington's been, like really good. I mean, that game's no
I'm not
longer.
sold on that one yet, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Yeah, that one, Maryland, I mean, but they did beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't look great. It's just a weird spot for Rutgers now because, I mean, they started 3-0 in the season, which has kind of become like a patented thing, thank God. But now they're 0-2 in the Big Ten. And by the way, of course, that includes the scare against Ohio, but they still won it. But now, now they're 3-2. And then this was a big stretch we're talking about like all off season where it's like, yeah, Iowa, Minnesota, Washington, and like, they got to win at least one. Maybe they could even win two, potentially three. And now it looks like they might lose all three. And they, unless something, miraculous happens against the Huskies like they probably will. So I mean, now it's like you need 2 wins against Maryland and Purdue just to give yourself a fighting chance for bowl eligibility and just to even have respectability for this season. Because as much as you might not like to think about it, like 5-7 is still way better respectability wise than 3-9, 4-8, where you just look like you lie down in Big Ten play. At least you want to look competitive and maybe give yourself a chance for that final bowl eligibility win. But then, then you've got your second tier Washington, Illinois. Unlikely, impossible. I wouldn't think so. And then, of course, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon are like 3 juggernauts in this conference. We saw the whiteout game. We've seen Ohio State this season. So, we can kiss those goodbye probably before they even get kicked off. But, yeah, I don't even think any Rutgers fans would like even, want to try to argue that. But anyway, I mean, but my point being like 2 winnables, 2 games that are like going to be tough to win, 3 games that look straight up impossible. I don't know. The one thing that inspires some confidence for me, though, is that last time Rutgers was in this situation, they started 4-0 and went 0-4 in October. They had a bye week. They turned things around. Nobody expected them to beat Minnesota, who I think had won 4 straight, and Rutgers had lost 4 straight. And they come in and do that, and that sets up a great November. They clinch bowl eligibility. They beat Michigan State 41-14, and even in the 2 losses, they're in shootouts with a ranked Illinois team and a Kansas State team who had a lot of playmakers and went 8-4 in the Big 12. So, I mean, if they turn things around once, I mean, can they do that again? I don't know, but I mean,
They're gonna certainly try.
They're gonna certainly try, and yeah, I wouldn't put it out of question. Like, do I think it's gonna happen? No, but can it happen? Potentially. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Washington's also due for a bad game too. We don't know how things are gonna go over there. I mean, they're traveling across the country, so you don't know. You don't know. But I mean, I hope what Rutgers can do that. And this year the schedule is just going to be so much tougher. So even if they do get like a jolt like that, it may or may not matter. But if it does, they have 3 games that they could win. So that could be the difference between a lost season and a bowl season, is whether they turn it around in this bye week. So, I mean, I guess another question that I wanted to pose to you is what do you think they should do on, I guess we talked about the special team stuff, but on defense, like what is the answer? Do you think it would be to fire Rob Smith, or do you think they should kind of do what they did in the bye week last year where they changed up the entire scheme?
Well, first of all, we have 2 bye weeks. First of all, they're not going to fire him just yet. They're probably not going to fire him to the end of the season.
Probably not. No,
fired.
I doubt
We have 2 bye weeks. One this week and one later on this season.
Yeah, before Ohio State and Penn State, which is again going to be a really brutal stretch, and that bye week might not be able to turn things around enough where they they can pick one of them off. This one though, there's a chance, I would say, of potentially going in there and making a statement that we're not done yet. Basically, is what you want to see, and bring some life back for SH, for the home game against Oregon, because we're going to need all of that. We don't want a dreadful atmosphere where everyone's lost on the season. We want, let's get everybody in here. Let's have a good game. Let's see what we got. So for that, we need a win, or at least a closer loss against the Huskies where the team looks like they have life. So that's what we need to do in the bye week. But I mean, yes, to your point, like I don't think they're going to fire Rob Smith till probably the end of the season. Although they did fire Sean Gleason a few years ago, like mid-season.
Well, that's because he was just nothing but terrible. But
yeah.
I don't want to keep like beating that dead horse into the ground. I expect a complete retool on defense. I expect all of that this coming bye week, and I'm hoping that's what happens. Not to keep beating the defensive struggles into the ground. I do want to move over to the non-revenue side of things. I saw that you had, one of our writers, John, put up a men's soccer article. You put up a volleyball article. Do you mind telling us a little bit about what's going on in the volleyball season?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, so Rutgers volleyball, they ended up finishing the non-con slate 9-3, which is pretty good. I mean, considering they only won 6 games all last season altogether, so they've already improved on that. They go into Big Ten play, and unfortunately, they dropped their first 2 games in conference play against ranked opponents. Number 7 Wisconsin and number 12 Minnesota. I want to say, yeah. So unfortunately, unable to get either of those wins, but 2 tough games on the road. And Rutgers, the Wisconsin game was kind of like, like 25-17, 25-17, 25-12. So they kind of, all the air went out of the balloon quickly. However, against Minnesota, they lost in a much closer 3-game match. Minnesota winning 25-22, 23, or 25-13, and then 29-27. So extra, extra, whatever you want to call it. I want to say extra innings, so this isn't baseball, extra action or in that third set, because typically a set goes up to 25, the final set goes to 15. So I guess the big picture takeaway here is that Rutgers, they've shown improvement. Like, I mean, like they've improved from last season, which was just dreadful. But in Big Ten play also, I mean, they're, against a tough team like Minnesota, who, is in this sport, they're a ranked team. They're one of the better teams in the country. They're themselves are 12-1 and on a 12-game win streak. So I mean, they're pretty up there, I would say. I don't know if they're up there considering, the Big Ten has even better teams, but they're pretty, they're pretty high in the rankings. And for Rutgers to be able to compete with them in 2 out of the 3 sets, only losing by 3 in one and 2 in the other, that means even though they didn't get it, they could compete in this conference, and they could, there's a lot of non-ranked teams on the schedule too, even in Big Ten play. So can Rutgers win those matches is going to be the question as to whether they have a even, decently successful season or not. Because next week they play Maryland on Friday. That's not a ranked team, but they play number 1 Nebraska, so we expect a loss. Probably a big crowd for that one. I probably was thinking about maybe going, but I think I do have other plans, unfortunately. But I'll definitely keep my eyes on that. Also it's a Rutgers football bye week, so there's, a lot of other games. But in terms of volleyball, I mean, that's probably a big one that a lot of people go to. I mean, the Cornhuskers, they sold out a football stadium with volleyball. I mean, they're very good. So that's, number 1 team in the country. So I mean, that's probably going to bring in a big crowd, for volleyball standards. I mean, you think about like Caitlin Clark in Iowa coming in with women's basketball, and how would Jersey Mike's arena look for that one game? And who knows what happens between Nebraska supporters
that was
and
packed with
Rutgers.
Iowa fans, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. But between, Cornhuskers fans and probably Scarlet Knights fans, this game against Nebraska will be pretty big. The Maryland one could also be, decently big after the start that they've had this season. So I do want to check out volleyball at least one time this season. So probably, unfortunately, not going to be this weekend because I do have some plans, but I will try to make sure I get to one. I would think there's also a couple of free matches at College Ave, at the College Ave gym later in the year. So if nothing else, maybe that. But yeah, I mean, volleyball looks fun. Field hockey is another sport that I think, could be talked about as well, or should be. They bounced back from a loss to number 18 Monmouth, with the 2-1 overtime win over Ohio State in the Big Ten to open up conference play, and then they beat Columbia 8-0. So very dominant win there over an unranked opponent there to end the non-con. So I mean, that's just huge. They just absolutely demolished them. But yeah, and they even also got the win over Ohio State as well in Big Ten play. So I think that's probably the one to really focus on. Not so much the 8-0 win over Columbia, but still, I mean, they got 2 wins. They're 6-4 now on the year. Volleyball's 9-5. But next up for field hockey, they go to Michigan State and then number 12 Michigan. So the thing with field hockey too is that they've also struggled against ranked opponents. I think they only have 1 win against a ranked opponent, but they've been pretty good elsewhere. So I mean, they've had a 6-4 record. I mean, now the question is like, what happens next? So I mean, they're still like, I think themselves are still a ranked team themselves. I don't know, the number keeps changing, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do in Big Ten play, because right now that seems to be it's like a tale of 2 seasons. It's like the ranked season and then the unranked season. They're very different. So it's like kind of like reminds me of like Rutgers football, like a little bit. It's like, with the barrier that they've had with ranked teams, which is, even worse, because you put a 25 ahead of that team and they're not winning it. You put an unranked Iowa team in our building and they're not winning it. They, this year, it gets worse because they go to unranked Minnesota, who's, as much as I hate the tiers thing, they're in our tier and we still blew it. So now that argument is out the window too. So, but anyway, I mean, in terms of field hockey, I mean, can they get a ranked win? Can they at least take care of the non-ranked games? And, same thing with volleyball too, right? Like, can they take care of the non-ranked games? Can they have decent seasons? I mean, based on everything I've seen so far, the answer probably would be yes for both of them, I would think.
Well, First of all, they already do have a ranked win against a
They do
ranked
have
team.
one against UConn on the road, so it's not like they're averse to beating a ranked team like football's been at least for a while. So at least they do have that. So not impossible. And yeah, so I mean, chances are they do get some more ranked wins. I guess is if that's like what the question is.
And on top of that, pretty much got to all the non revenue sports here. We talked about men's soccer, we talked about women's soccer, volleyball, field hockey, but one that we did not put on our outline here, I feel like we have to talk about. Wrestling did just have their schedule for the 2025-2026 season drop. Um, if you have never gone to a Rutgers wrestling game, get out there, go to it. Honestly, you're going to be witnessing probably one of the best programs that Rutgers has to offer in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah, it's pretty
athletics.
electric out there.
Consistent, consistent dominance, consistent, in the top 15 rankings, consistent taking
Yeah,
down of top 10 teams. If you haven't gone, go, because in all honesty, there's probably not a better, more stable, high performing program at Rutgers.
yeah, no, they have been very good, and yeah, wrestling meets are a lot of fun too. I mean, because they'll have 10 different bouts go on in the same in the same match,
Mm-hmm.
so you get to see like the different weight classes. And Rutgers usually has someone at, well, I mean, Dean Peterson's now at Iowa, but they have like Dylan Chauver, and they've had other guys like at different positions, like heavyweight, some of the lighter weights. Like they've had like their key performers. They've also had a pretty good solid team around them. Like Scott Goodell's a very good coach, and yeah, the program's been very good. They've been highly ranked, and yeah, that atmosphere can also get going. I mean, Jersey Mike's Arena is more for
Absolutely.
Jersey Mike's Arena is more than just basketball. Volleyball is going to be big there this week. Gymnastics plays there. Wrestling, though, is definitely like I think the key one to watch out for, because that one's like very those can get really really electric from a couple of times I've been. I mean, in terms of men's and women's soccer, though, I mean, men's soccer did beat FDU and Ohio State, so they've had a dominant week of their own. They went six. They're 6-2-1 on the season now, and they end their non-conference play with Monmouth at home, and then they go to Michigan later in the week. So they've looked really good this season. I mean, men's soccer, like a very good record. I think they have a chance to make some noise, maybe make the playoff. Let's see where that goes. Women's soccer, on the other hand, kind of struggling a little bit more. They're 3-3-4. They lost. They've played a very tough schedule this weekend. They lost to number 4 UCLA on the road, 1-0. I was watching a bit of that game because it was on Big Ten Network, so I wanted to see them in action. 2-1 loss to USC, which is also on BTN. Unfortunately, didn't catch that one, but yeah, I mean, unfortunate couple of losses, but those two teams are both very good on the West Coast. But now they come back this Saturday, a rivalry game against Penn State at USAC. So that's where the women's team is at, and yeah, I mean, wrestling should be exciting too. I can't wait for the winter seasons to start up again. I mean, well, basketball coming up for men's and women's, and wrestling. The overlap season, I guess, is where it gets fun in like November, because you have just about everything going on. The fall sports still in action, and the winter sports kicking themselves off.
And then you got to remember women's basketball. They're going to be squaring off against Kiyomi McMiller at Penn State this off
Oh
season.
yeah,
I
right.
mean this winter. Sorry, not off season. That's going to be that's going to be a little bit of a grudge match. I would feel like.
Yeah, because she was obviously things just didn't work out with her here at Rutgers. But yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think they also have a trip to Auburn. I believe one of their players who from Rutgers women's basketball ended up going to Auburn, so that's going to be another grudge match for the Scarlet Knights. So yeah, women's basketball should be a pretty good one too. Same thing with men's. There's a lot of excitement about that. I mean, also even without Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, I mean, the way that the team's reconstructed. So I mean, like we'll see how they end up doing with a more Pico oriented roster, and yeah, soft non-conference schedule for the most part. They go to Vegas, so yeah, men's basketball should be fun too, and same thing with women's. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I had to say.
Yeah, definitely going to be an exciting winter in Rutgers sports. Hopefully, basketball has a little bit better time than we're anticipating. But honestly, with the basketball now looking so hot, football struggling, it's the perfect opportunity to go and show these non-revenue sports some love, especially field hockey and wrestling, as I mentioned before, competing at a high level. But like, I cannot stress enough: if you have not seen them, do yourself a favor and go watch because you will be entertained. But that pretty much does it for everything that we have here today. Unless you had something you want to mention really quick at the end here.
Um, I mean, I guess just to go back to that point about the rematches. Maya Petticourt's the player from women's basketball who's now on Auburn. Just wanted to clarify that in case anyone's wondering. So they will be going to Neville Arena this year for that game. So the other ones to look out for: Princeton, who's always kind of been the better team now against Rutgers women's. I don't think the
And
men's
men's, and men's.
and men's too, but does the men's team also play Princeton again this year? Or I don't think they do because
I
I
don't
think they
think they
just
do either, but they've
yeah,
kind
because
of held that over the men's as well.
yeah, they've had that over both men's and women. So that one's there. Men's doesn't really have too much of a conference non-conference struggle. The Big Ten's going to be tough, but I mean, in terms of
I think
big games,
everything's going to be a struggle for this men's team.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, the big one, Seton Hall, I'm thinking that's a big game, obviously, and the Vegas trip are going to be the big test. Other than that, there should be an opportunity to stack wins in the beginning part of the season. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, I mean, I really hope they do. I think Penn comes. That's kind of a big game. There's it ranges from like the decently easy ones to the very easy ones in both men's and women's. But I guess with that being said, yeah, I mean, hopefully a good way to stack wins and build a resume for the tournament. I don't think they're going to make the tournament, but I think it's definitely at
I
least
don't
worth
think they're
it.
going to come anywhere close to it.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll worry about all that when basketball season comes around. I mean, we still got football and all the fall sports to talk about, so that's kind of where my head is at right now.
All right, sounds good. So that pretty much does it for everything that we have here today. Hopefully, football fixes it in the bye week. If you have the opportunity, go check out those non-revenue sports that we keep hammering into your skull. Um, but as always, thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of our podcast. And remember that the bells must ring.